So it's Halloween week. I already reviewed my favorite horror movie of all time last year, Jaws. I made a list of my favorite movies and TV specials to watch during this time of the year, and I released my list of favorite horror movies from my AlexG8462 channel onto this channel last year. So why don't we just review some of these things? We'll start off with Psycho, which is actually going to be a very difficult movie to review. I did review it on my other channel, AlexG8462, but I figured to review it again because it's a fucking great movie, and it could be a little demonstration of how much I've evolved from that review 2 years ago. Psycho is a difficult movie to actually review. I mean, it's 54 years old, but even then, there's some things that even for... Okay, you know what? It's 54 years old. I shouldn't have to say, like, spoiler review. So, I'm just going to review the movie. If you haven't seen Psycho, it's fucking great. Go watch it right now, because I'm going to lay down some spoilers if you really are oblivious to the famous things in Psycho. So, Psycho tells the story of Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, who steals some money from the bank she works at in order to live with her boyfriend, Sam Loomis. She goes on a trip from Phoenix to California in order to basically move there, but she's having these psychological experiences on the drive there. Like, she has the feeling that the cops are onto her. She feels like the bosses know what she did, so she's very freaked out. So she checks into the Bates Motel, this crummy little hotel that is on the side of the road, where she comes across Norman Bates. She decides to spend the night, and then that's when she comes to the realization of, you know what, I'm going to return the money. So, as she decides to return the money, she decides to take a shower, and then she's dead. Yeah. Obviously, if you're watching this, you've seen Psycho or know enough about it without seeing it. But basically, this was a big movie back in 1960. Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, made this on his own without much studio support. In fact, it was funded, like, pretty much by himself. It's in black and white, and it's a very edgy movie for its time. The very last course I took at UC Santa Cruz was American Cinema 1930 to 1960, and Psycho was the very last film I ever watched in my college career. I've seen it beforehand, but basically, watching it in retrospect of what I've learned, I can see why this is a very, very edgy film for 1960. It marked the beginning of a new era for film, where a big mainstream director self-finances a movie himself, gets it made. It's one of the most successful movies that year. And then it also does things like the aforementioned, like, shower scene. In 45 minutes, your main character is dead. Nobody before 1960 ever attempts to kill off their main character until at least the end of the movie, or not at all. But this movie comes in just when this character is about to redeem herself. She gets murdered by Norman Bates, and you're just like, who does that? But, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock knew what he was doing back in the day. So then there's the idea of, okay, well, there's the money. What's going to happen to it? Norman Bates cleans the hotel, throws the money in the trash can as it's wrapped up in some newspapers. Like, he doesn't even know. So now what's the movie about? Well, it's about Sam Loomis and Marion Crane's sister trying to find Marion, and basically they encounter, like, the big twist of the movie, which that has something to do with Norman and his love for his mother. It's a very, very brilliant movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. It's my third favorite horror movie. I mean, obviously Alien and Jaws come first. But Psycho, every time I watch it, I'm just always fascinated by it. The way it's shot, the dialogue. The villain, Norman Bates, is one of the most creepy villains I've ever seen. I mean, basically disturbed. It's one of those things where it's kind of hard to describe what makes a good villain, but Norman Bates definitely fits that category. He's unassuming. He looks like a good guy, but even then, he's done some bad things. Like, to prove that he's kind of a likable guy, after the point, like, okay, imagine that you don't know that Norman Bates and his mother are the same person. Spoiler. When he goes in to clean the hotel, puts the body in the car, rolls the car into the mud. Like, there's a point where the car stops, and you're like, oh, no, push it in, Norman. It's like that point where you're feeling sorry, you're rooting for the slasher. That's how brilliant this movie is, and how Alfred Hitchcock manages to direct it. I mean, then obviously I can't go without talking about the famous shower scene. Like, if you've never seen Psycho, you've seen that scene. It's been parodied several times. There's one point where it's going to be used without music to the suggestion of Alfred Hitchcock. And on the DVDs and the Blu-rays, there's a bonus feature that puts these two one after another, the scene with music and the scene without music. So Bernard Herrmann convinced Alfred Hitchcock that, no, the scene has got to have music or else it's not going to be threatening. Because Bernard Herrmann was Alfred Hitchcock's main guy in terms of music, who did things like Vertigo, North by Northwest, and he did some other great movies that weren't just Alfred Hitchcock. So it's the one time where, like, Alfred Hitchcock might be a master, but there are points where we know that he isn't always right. So I'm glad that Bernard Herrmann talked him into putting that music in, because if you watch the scene without music, it's more awkward, not really scary. It doesn't scare you at all. So I don't know what else there is to say about Psycho. It's a brilliant movie. It's a real game changer in terms of how movies are made. It's just really one of the greatest movies ever made. If you've never seen Psycho, get off your ass and go see it right now. And do not watch that stupid remake from the 90s with Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. It's just literally a shot-by-shot copy of the same movie, except Norman Bates is played by Vince Vaughn, and you can't take it seriously. That's my quick review of that piece of shit. So that's my review for Psycho. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought of the movie. Subscribe to my channel for more stuff in the future. You can check out my video blog channel, AlexG8462. You can find links to my Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram accounts on this YouTube page. Go check me out at letterboxd.com under the name Mr. Robinson, as well as my written reviews on Geeked Out Nation. Share with your friends and tell them about me. And this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one. Stay tuned for the rest of the week for some more Halloween-esque videos. I'll see you guys later.